It's called Cody's Creek.
Ooh.
Cody's Creek. Alright. There we go. Welcome back to another episode of the Listen to Lamb Chop podcast. This is your host, Gavin Lamb. And joined with me today is the man, the myth, the legend, Cody Spence.
Hello.
What's up, man? How are you?
What's up?
I'm fantastic. It seems
That's
like
nice
it was.
intro.
Thanks, man. I'm practicing. I'm trying to get better each time. So, it just feels like it was just yesterday when we were doing a podcast, and I like that. I like that it feels like it hasn't been too long since we sat down and discussed a topic.
Yeah, less than 12 hours.
Oh, so you mean it doesn't just feel like yesterday, but it actually was yesterday?
Last night.
It was last night. Okay, yeah, you're right. We filmed a podcast last night. We're filming one right now, and this is the way you have to do it sometimes when you have busy work schedules. You don't know when you're going to be able to have someone scheduled for the podcast, and you don't know what is going to happen from day to day. If you can knock out 2 podcasts in one visit, then why not, right?
Oh, no.
Today, we decided to talk about something kind of, I guess, I don't know if it's untraditional. I don't know how many people are actually out there talking about this or not. But basically, we're talking about childhood imagination on a personal level. Like, our childhood imagination. Basically...
I guess how it, adapted over the years, or...
Yeah, I mean,
overall.
Anything and everything about, our childhood imagination as far as, how we played with our toys, what we imagined when we were in certain situations, like in the woods or the beach or at a friend's house, if there was anything like you imagined that you were doing, like a war zone or something like that. Just crazy stuff that you think of when you're a kid that keeps things fresh and interesting, and somehow when you become an adult, you lose a little bit of that. It seems like you lose a little bit of that imagination sometimes when you have so much going on and so much responsibility. That's true. Responsibility is what kind of takes away from a lot of that imagination and freedom, it seems. But you don't have to let it be that way. You have to find time for your imagination, your creativity, and fun time. So, yeah, guys, that's the topic for the day. We're about to get right into it right now, the meat and potatoes of everything, and just kind of have a friendly discussion, story time on how exactly we imagined things were back when we were kids. So, what comes to mind, Cody? Right off the top of your head, stuff that you used to do.
Off the top of my head. We used to have this piece of land, that's been in our family for a long time. So we'll go out there, every once in a while.
Yeah.
And at the time, I don't know, I was maybe 10, 12, maybe a little bit older. But do you remember old, back when Call of Duty every year would put out 2 or 3
new at least one new game a year?
Yeah, but they were all
November.
Yeah, they were always World War II.
Oh yeah,
games.
Yeah, for sure.
So
they had a very long streak of doing that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, so every time we'd go out to this property, it's 60-ish, 66 acres, something like that. So I'd go out there by myself. Might have the dog with me, and there's this ditch.
Yeah.
This deep ditch, man. I thought it was in Normandy or something.
Normandy in a trench, just going through the trenches.
It was intense, man. It was fun.
Yeah, man. I definitely relate to that. I definitely played war out in the woods sometimes. I remember, even in middle school, we would go out there and pretend like we were in battle with paintball guns and stuff.
Oh, I never done that.
And wear all camouflage, little decked out Tippmann 98 custom, just just popping shots. And there was this there was actually this place that was an undeveloped neighborhood, and they just hadn't started to build on it yet, but there was all plotted out and everything, and they were manholes, but there was the ones that were sticking out of the ground, not going in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it looked like a turret. And you could actually lift the manhole cover off and go in there.
Nice.
And there was it was a little bunker, and there was a little creek in there with the pipe, but it wasn't enough water. You could stand down there. It was gravel, and then there was a little slot up near the top. So we put the top back on, and then there was a slot. You put your rifle, you put your tipman or your paintball gun barrel right out the side. You just wait for them to come up and you just pop shots. And when they started popping shots back, I mean, you had your face guard on, but you also had the cover from like the turret, and it was like the coolest thing because we thought we were like in a war zone. Like, there had never been houses there, but to us it was like, the houses have been blown up, this is a dead zone. And like, it's just using your imagination, man. And like, it was just so fun. Like, I'll never forget like those crazy times. I also used to remember going to the beach as a kid, and like after seeing movies like Castaway and stuff like that, I would pretend like I was washed up. Like, I would just like, there'd be hundreds of people on the beach with us, but in my mind I was all alone, and I was being washed up on this beach, and I would like let the waves literally wash me up on the beach and be like, well, okay, what do I do now? I need to find water. And, you know, obviously it was just as easy for me to run up and be like, hey, Mom, water from the cooler, please. Is there any coconuts or bananas? We got to find them. Will you help me build a shelter? And it's like, we're going to go home in just a little bit. And it's like, no. This is Castaway.
Keep a journal.
Yeah.
I met with the native population. They were kind enough to give me water.
I know. I can't believe I never like took a volleyball with me or something. I had like a friend. But yeah, I remember every scenario. Every scenario that I can remember as a kid, I had some sort of imaginary situation going on. And a lot of it, you know, I mean, it stems from the very beginning. I mean, when you're just playing with your toys as a little kid and you're watching TV shows and stuff, you have action figures, and all of a sudden, if your family's watching a Western, you're automatically, with your action figures, you're playing cowboys and Indians. Yeah, and then when you're acting like that too, like, man, we used to create so many battles, so many battle scenarios and shootouts and stuff with our G.I. Joes. I remember it got to a point where we would spend 2 hours setting it up. And by the time it was time for us to actually have the battle, we'd be like, all right, let's go do something else. And we were like, what?
Well, you know, I had more fun doing that, like actually setting up the battlefield with the little army men.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I had fun doing that. But and then, you know, when it was time to actually have the battle, I mean, it was over in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, it was over. It was over because everybody got shot or blown up or something, and you had this big, like, grand idea of what was going to happen. And then it just it didn't take very long at all. But there was another situation that always happened with me and my friends, is where we'd set up this giant, like, setup of this battlefield, good guys versus bad guys, Derek's guys versus Devin's guys versus my guys, 3-way battlefield coming in this way. They set up a bunch of stuff. And then it became a literal battle of the imagination, because we would argue. We start to argue about, no, he did not get shot by his arrows. There's no way. My guy had a magic arrow dome shield on, and then this guy had a jetpack, so there's no way he got hit by his bullets. And and this guy can freeze that guy because he's part of the X-Men. And they're like, no, that's not right. We're playing G.I. Joes. You can't have X-Men in the G.I. Joes. And I said, yes, you can. If he's an X-Men character, yes, you can. And, like, we would just battle each other. And so, like, I think that was part of the reason, like, why we would start setting up. And then an hour and a half later, we'd be like, all right, let's go skateboard. Let's go play a video game, Nintendo 64 or something like that. Because we knew that once it got to battle time, there was no way we were all going to agree on what actually happened.
Yeah.
But one of the coolest things we ever did was find a bunch of old cinder blocks and put them out near the creek. We leveled this little spot out and put them out there, and then we found like a place, like going up the creek, that had a bunch of beautiful green moss. And so we took that up, and that was the rooftop and the sidings, and we made this awesome castle for our action figures. And sad thing was, we left a bunch of them down on the rocks in the actual like ditch area, and we went in to play for a couple hours, came back out, and it had monsooned, so every single one of our G.I. Joes got washed down. The ditch filled up with water, and it washed them all. And like, we found some then that were underneath rocks. We found some a couple days later, and then a couple years later, when we weren't even playing with G.I. Joes anymore, we found a couple, and then there's some that we never found. But it was just insane, like, they all literally got washed away by a flood, because it was like, I can't imagine speaking of imagination, put yourself in those G.I. Joe situation in that spot. It's like, the blood is coming! It's coming of blood! Like, and those poor guys, some of them hunkered down, some of them got washed away, never seen again.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, that's it. That was the extent. Like, there was no limit on your childhood imagination. No. You could do anything and be anything in any situation with any toy, create what you wanted to happen. And that's the beautiful thing.
See, with me though, I had toys, but my imagination, I didn't really use a lot of toys as far as imagination. Mine was more of just going out and doing stuff. But so I was one of those weird kids who, if you saw me outside, I had a stick. A stick in my hand. It was a gun or a sword or a staff or something. But when I was younger, I played a lot of golf.
Yeah.
And, grew up, my dad played golf, my brother played golf, stuff like that. So we'd go out and play. And, I was young. I got tired. I got kind of bored quick.
Yeah.
And I wasn't great back then either. I'm not great now, but...
Yeah. You're better.
Yeah, I'm better. But we'd go and I'd play about 4-6 holes, and then I'd get ill or mad or tired or something, and so I would just go out
always
there.
Getting angry and tired.
Yeah, and so I would just go and play in the woods and just kind of follow my dad and my brother while they played, and that was like a whole scenario. That was back when Star Wars, the third episode came out.
Yeah.
And it had the clips of all the Clone Wars and all that kind of stuff going on. So I'd imagine I was I was part of this team who had to go through these woods and go capture these certain areas on the golf course. It was pretty fun.
That sounds like a blast. You're talking about using stuff as golf clubs and everything, or using a golf club.
Oh yeah,
we used to find
that's my long rifle.
Yeah, exactly. we used to find old golf clubs and fire pokers and just big sticks, and run out in the woods and pretend that we were the main crew from Lord of the Rings, and we were out there in a forest full of these dead trees, kicking dead trees down, stabbing fire pokers in there, and pretend all those trees were orcs, and we were just in a battle with these orcs, and they were everywhere. So
yeah, you were surrounded.
It was wild. So that was some of the most fun. I remember, because I was always the chubby kid, they always made me be Gimli the dwarf, big fat round dwarf, and I was like, no man, I want to be Legolas, man. Legolas is a bad dude, man. Well, Derek was always super skinny, had long blonde hair down in the middle of his back, and he was he would do stuff and jump from heights and do front rolls and stuff that none of the rest of us would do anyway. So he was already cooler than the rest of us. So he was by nature he was Legolas. Devin had long brown hair, so he was Aragorn. And then whoever else was with us at the time would just pick someone else. And then I was like, man, I want to be a hobbit, dude. But then when I got older,
be Frodo.
I know. When we got older though, I realized how cool Gimli was. He was a bad dude too, and he was taking out people with that battle axe and everything.
Oh, he's definitely cooler than any hobbit.
Oh yeah, dude. He was going ham on these dudes, on these orcs all the time. And so I remember how cool he was. We weren't playing Imagination Lord of the Rings anymore, but I kind of wanted to. I'm like, hey, I'll be Gimli. I'll be Gimli, guys. Don't worry, I'll do it. Can we just play?
Nah, dude, just play the PlayStation.
Yeah, no, it's nah, going outside's no longer fun. I think that's another thing, though, about how our childhood imagination, in some ways, not got cut short necessarily, but kind of got interfered with by the outside source of video games, because it teaches you, or your imagination, you had imagination with video games, but there's also these set rules within the video game. But I think that a lot of video games, like Game Boys and Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, a lot of that stuff took time away from us actually using our imagination.
Well, yeah.
We were in a set parameter of stuff to play with.
It told you what the story was. It told you who you are. This is what's going on. so you couldn't kind of like recreate it, or like you couldn't kind of guide it or.
But that is the beauty of
lead it the way you want it to go.
That's the coolest thing about open world games, though, is that you can actually start using a lot of your own imagination in there within the parameters of this big open digital world. Like GTA, like Grand Theft Auto. It's like it's obviously like a terrible game morally, but you can have so much fun just riding around, driving cars, airplanes, boats, four-wheelers, bicycles. Like
you can do a lot.
Yeah, you can hang glide down mountains. I mean, you can do whatever you want to in that game, and that's like the coolest part about it is that the freedom and the imagination you can have while playing games like that. But yeah, man, I mean, I think it was endless. I remember being in the mountains, and every time we'd go up there, I'd get probably a new like coonskin cap, some deer moccasins, and I'd be walking through the woods with my little bow and my arrows, and I thought that I was going to find another tribe of Indians, or that cowboys were going to come after me or something. Like, I thought that was real. In my mind, it was real, and I had to get back to safety.
So you were the Indian growing
sometimes,
up?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes. I mean, I guess sometimes I'd be the cowboy. When I was younger, I was a cowboy, I think, because I always had cowboy hats around and, like, these really cool, like, chaps, like, for like a little kid. I had like a cowboy-based party at one point. It was probably actually a Toy Story theme, like Woody or something. But
no Buzz.
I don't know, man. I was always a Woody guy.
Okay.
I was always Woody. I liked Woody over Buzz when I was little. Now I think of them as equals.
I don't know. I mean, I feel bad for Woody.
Yeah, I mean, poor guy. He just wanted to be loved, and he was so threatened by anything that came in between him and Andy.
And it didn't last long either.
No, but you know what? That's a whole other podcast right there. We'll have to get into the psychological antics of Woody and Buzz from Toy Story. Hit that like button if you want to see that happen. But for sure, I mean, childhood imagination can take you to so many places. You can literally do anything you want to. But yeah, I mean, I played the Cowboys and the Indians. We played any movie that you thought that you could portray, you did. I remember one time me and Devin took the little John boat out like late at night. We were camping. We were supposed to be just camping out there in the field, but we actually went to the pond. And
did your parents know that?
No, not at all.
Will they after this?
Yes, yeah. Sorry. We're 20, we're almost 30 now, so, I mean, you can try to spank us, I guess. Anyway, apologies about this. But anyway, we snuck to the pond, we put the John boat in, which actually, if anyone's going to be upset about it, it's going to be Devin's uncle. It's his boat. But, so we put the boat in, we took it to the center, and we threw the anchor out, and apparently the anchor wasn't actually at the bottom like we thought. We were still kind of slowly drifting. We didn't know this because when we went out to the center, it was very, very foggy. It was like 3 a.m. Super, super foggy around us, so we didn't know exactly where we were in the pond, but we thought we had gone to the center. We threw the anchor out. We were just going to sit there and just be like, man, this is spooky. This is so cool. We're out here, we're on a ship or on a boat all alone. We're out here, in the wilderness in this water, and, there could be monsters out there. You could hear a splash or something. You'd be like, oh, what was that? What was that? What was that? And so, I remember it was just so cool. And then all of a sudden, something started to hit our sides and poke us, and we started to scream. We were just like, no. We realized we had actually drifted back to the bank, and there was a bunch of tree limbs and stuff starting to poke us. But gosh, when you think that foggy? When you think you're in the middle, and all of a sudden something starts to hit you, you really start freaking out.
Oh man.
So yeah, that was scary. We learned our lesson the hard way with that. So I mean, any punishment our parents would have given us for going out there, I think we already scared the crap out of ourselves just by doing it. So we never did that again. But I remember in the moment going out, kind of feeling like Tom and Huck Finn, just kind of going out there. It was fun. So, but yeah, dude. You got any more stories?
None that I can think of, or I think of off the top of my head, but let me see. I mean, growing up for me, mostly, it was always kind of like a Star Wars kind of thing.
Yeah.
Certain age, I'd be like a Jedi or something, and
oh, definitely, always imagining
yeah.
Star Wars for sure.
Going back to the Call of Duty, like World War II era of them always, making those kind of games. There was one game. There's like a mission where you're a pilot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was young, and we, me and my brother was going up to my grandmother's, which we did every Friday night.
Yeah.
And it was already dark at this point. So, I pile in the car, and for some reason my mind just clicked, and I was a World War II pilot. We were flying from London to, Paris or something like that.
Dude, that's awesome.
It was pretty fun.
It's always so fun, man, because like we keep saying, it's limitless. Like I remember what you're talking about, like with Star Wars. Me and my little cousins always had like the toy lightsabers. I even have one. I still got one right up there on the shelf.
Oh yeah.
And so we used to take those out and just have like intense sword battles with them. Like we probably could have taken a fencing class and we probably would have won, because we went into some like intense sword battles with the lightsabers. That was also another thing, though, that you would get into a creative battle about was, no, you lost that arm. That arm's chopped off. I have a lightsaber. Like, your arm is gone, and that piece of wood's gone, and when I cut that fell and crushed him, you're dead, too. And it's like, you would just have these arguments that had no basis to anybody else. Like, obviously it didn't happen in the physical realm, so you couldn't really prove it. But in your mind, it's like, no, that's what happened. I know it did. Don't argue with me about it. And then the other person that you're arguing with
but I jumped back and I pushed it at you.
Oh yeah, they'd be like, I did a triple backflip onto this platform that was hovering with a jetpack while that got cut, and so the bridge that I was standing on that you cut the ropes to no longer matter. They'd be like, well, touche. But then you ran out of gas. It was like, so you just continue and continue.
There was
to
no rules. It was just.
No rules at all. It was just banter and just yelling at each other for no reason because you thought that you were right. So I just wanted to look up real quick something on here about why is the imagination important in child development. Imagination aids in the development of social, emotional, creative, physical, lingual, and problem-solving skills in children. These are important skills to develop in early childhood, as they can be good markers for understanding a child's overall development. So imagination overall is very, very healthy for everyone. Everyone's got it. Everyone needs to use it. And it can be very, very positive for the development of your natural life. Mm-hmm. So I think that the world would be a much more boring place without creativity and the imagination, and there would be so much stuff that we wouldn't have in the modern realm. Like we wouldn't.
Just think about everything. In this room.
Yeah.
Somebody
imagined it first,
yeah,
and then put it to action.
Or like the wheel,
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, the wheel.
They had to sit there and think about. Well, we got this issue. We got to figure out a way to make it easier.
I don't like flipping this box over and over and over again until we get there. This is 40 miles and just flipping a box on one side over and over and over. If we can make it easier by rolling it, what if that could have been a conversation?
That might have been.
They were like, sure it was. These darn straight edges on everything. Why's everything got to be squared off?
Hey, don't quote me on this, but potato chips.
Potato chips.
Yeah. So.
All right, I won't quote you on that. I say that word sometimes too.
Okay. So potato
chips.
So what I've heard, I've not officially researched it, but so what I heard was that potato chips were invented by, I believe it was a French chef, and somebody went into his restaurant and ordered like potato slices, right?
Yeah.
They wanted it super thin.
Yeah.
And so he did it, and they said, no, thinner. So he did it even thinner. No, thinner. So the chef got mad and
just shaved it.
Out of spite, made it as thin as possible.
Yeah.
And invented the potato chip.
I've definitely heard that. I've heard that on, gosh, what was that? There was a Disney Channel original movie years ago called The Luck of the Irish.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's grandfather in that movie was, I think, like a leprechaun or something. But, like, he had a potato chip factory because years ago, that was the story they gave, too, is that he just cut them really thin. He cut them so thin, he fried them in the kettle, and they were the first potato chips. And so, like, I've heard stuff like that before, but I mean, who knows? Like, you never know. Like, people that did invent certain food things, like, how do they know? You know, like, how do you, like, people gave them all credit, but, like, how do they know that that was the actual first person that ever did something like that?
That is true.
You know what I mean? Like,
that is true.
someone could have done it for thousands of years in their own family and just never told anybody.
Yeah.
Like, they were just eating them. But, I mean, you know, who knows? I also looked up, why is imagination important for adults? It says that it influences everything we do, think about, and create. It's kind of like what we were just talking about. I think your imagination can free you from the realm of what we said at the very beginning of this, which is responsibilities that kind of cloud the mind and take hold, and you have all these obligations on a daily basis. But if you're able to just kind of be free and have your imagination, like even now, dude, being 29 years old, when I'm like on the floor in my living room just playing with my son.
Yeah, I'm about to say, being a dad now,
Like,
do you feel like you have to have more of an imagination than
oh
you did
yeah,
before?
dude, for sure. Because I like right now he's only like almost 17 months old, so like he still isn't like verbalizing every single thing. But I know like what he's doing is something like like he's using his imagination to do this thing, and he thinks it's the coolest thing in the world. And I don't know exactly what he's doing, but I'm using my imagination along with him, and I have a blast, and I feel like a little kid again. And it's the coolest thing.
That's kind of how you have to understand your child too, right?
Oh yeah, man. You just have to put yourself in their shoes, and like, I mean, there's
what could he be thinking right now? What is he asking?
Yeah, like you want to know, like, what is he trying to tell me right now, first of all. Second of all, like, what is he thinking? But I also know that it's not going to be too much longer before I'm like, I know exactly what he's saying, like what he's thinking, and I know exactly what he's saying, because now he won't stop talking. Because that's what everyone tells me. Like, you want your kid to start talking until they do, and then you want them to shut up because they never stop. So, you know, I'm still looking forward to it regardless, though, because I can't wait.
Funny though.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm gonna have to like watch what I say on like a regular basis. Even more than I do already, because you never want them to say something stupid or embarrassing.
Hey, if he does, just blame my mom.
Yeah, yeah. His mother.
What'd your mother tell you?
His mother says stuff like that all the time. I don't know. I've had to talk to her several times, but I, as the father, never said that. Never. Yeah, dude. So I mean, definitely, I think it comes a point in your adult life where, as soon as you think you might start losing some of that freedom, and you're just bound and chained up by all these responsibilities, and you feel like your imagination has been stuffed in a dusty closet or something for a long time. There's certain things in life that happen to you, and your imagination and all your dreams and stuff that you had imagined in the past are all starting to come true, and it's a beautiful thing. Because you don't even think about that. You, even outside of the realm of imagination for play and just interest and just like, oh, I wonder what would happen this, you also always are imagining as a kid and an adolescent, what's my adult life going to look like? What am I going to be doing in 2 years? What am I going to be doing in 5 years, 10 years? What am I going to look like in 20 years?
Right. Like, now you do it like more on a serious level. Like how could I better my life? If I had, this amount of money, what could I do with it to better my life? Or,
I mean, definitely you'll think about that, like
imaginative,
imagination, like wise, like what if I did win the lottery?
Yeah.
Like, what would my life look like then? Of course, but like as far as just like planning what a regular life would look like, it's wild because a lot of the stuff that I imagined has come true. Maybe didn't look like exactly how I thought it would, or exactly how my life, I never, because you never know. But maybe my life doesn't look like exactly how I thought or imagined it would at this point in my life, but man, it seems like it's going great. And no matter, I think that it was healthy for me to have an imagination and think about those things ahead of time, though, because now that I'm in it and I'm living it, I'm like, this is crazy. Now I'm thinking about, where am I going to be in the next 20 years? What am I going to be in the next 40 years? Am I, even if I don't live long enough, I still imagine myself being an old man playing with my grandkids, and I haven't even lived the life with my son yet all the way.
Right.
It's like, so I don't know. I mean, it's cool. I mean, your imagination never stops turning.
Right.
And like what they say, you use it every single day, regardless of anything, what you do, your profession, what you think about. You're constantly imagining things. I think that's the beautiful thing about it. Is imagination, like you said before when we mentioned the wheel. Imagination is a wheel that like never stops turning.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's pretty cool, man. You got any final thoughts?
Not really, except I mean, do you feel sorry for people
For Woody?
our age? Yeah, Woody too, man. Yeah. But no, people like our age or maybe a little bit older who just seems like they have no imagination. Always serious all the time.
Yeah, man. I think they're.
I understand that there is a time to be serious, and there is a time.
Yeah, there's a time and place
get
for
stuff
everything.
done.
That's,
I get
that's
that.
biblical, There's a time and place
Yeah.
for everything in every situation, but
at the same time,
there's no need for anyone to be cynical or negative or too serious about life. I think a lot of it depends on who you are as a person and what you do, but at the same time, even if you are a negative person, or maybe it seems like you don't have an imagination, they're deep down, there's got to be times where they're imagining something different, or maybe want to have a deeper or more fun imagination. And like, who knows? Maybe they have that in a different way. Maybe they just don't like to show it openly.
Right.
Who knows? But yeah, that's a good point. I don't feel bad for them necessarily. I just know that, as far as my creativity and my imagination, I just try to do me.
It works for you.
Yeah, it works for me. I just try to do me and let other people do them. And if as long as their lack of imagination or negativity is not bothering me in my life in any way, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Good point.
However, though, guys, for closing thoughts for me, I'd say just never lose your imagination. Never feel like you're too old or in too bad of a position to have your imagination and to have your creativity. Just always embrace it, because it's part of our freedom. It's part of being alive, and part of our early childhood development, as well as being an adult and growing and learning and just living life. You're always going to need your imagination and creativity, guys. So just keep that in mind. I think it's something that we don't think about too often. I think that we just kind of let that go naturally as it goes. But, if you think you're in a creative rut, or you just don't use your imagination, like a childlike imagination like you used to, try it out, man, because you can reharness that and relive it and have some great, great times, even as an adult, for the rest of your life. Use that imagination, guys. Keep it turning. Keep the wheel going. So that's it for the episode number 4. Listen to Lamb Chop. If you want to watch this episode of Listen to Lamb Chop, go check us out at Gavin Lamb TV on YouTube. And guys, just much love. And I will see you on the next one. Peace out.